Shirley here with Sirius, Taurus, Moon, Venus, Hour, Jupiter day. And energy reading. It's beginning to become more and more apparent that, particularly regarding the soul, sun, the radiance of a person, there is some sort of a trajectory where if people are not allowed to be who they are, according to who they say they are, then, and what do I mean by that? The sun exalts in Aries. Aries is also a fiscal sign, it's a business sign, it's a real estate sign. If somebody needs to be radiant and confident in their own business, in their own real estate, in their own sovereignty, being who they are, with their own sense of self, in their own authentic sexuality. And the people that are directly or indirectly, even known or unbeknownst to them, preventing that, this is causing a collateral collapse. And nobody can be disincluded. This is why Aries and why the abolitionists, whether they were trying to pretend that they were abolitionists, or the Jesuits that were also tormenting people to the point where people would threaten a person that they either kill them or that they murder the person for so-called redemption or Geulah. But why did they abolish rape and slavery? Even by those that pretended they had to pretend that they are wanting to abolish slavery. I'm talking about the Jesuits. The Jesuits had to pretend that they want to abolish slavery, or the abolitionists wanted to abolish slavery across the world. Why was it so aligned with Neptune? Because Neptune can be both those who are authentically zero rape, zero slavery, and those that are, still in the gaslighting phase, still in the false light phase. This is because Aries is sovereignty and Sun exalts in Aries. A person cannot be who they are in a world with rape and slavery. They have to convince themselves that they are evil, that they are bad, that they are predator, that this is who they are, and so on and so forth. But this is all trauma-based. And this is an unavoidable truth that keeps perpetuating their trauma across timelines. And as long as they don't let people be who they are, as long as they enslave, as long as they rape, as long as they enable rape and slavery, even with their business, even with their real estate, they will never be able to be who they are. They will always have this stamp on their soul. Some people call it the mark of the beast and say that they agreed with that contract, but they never agreed. They were tortured. And that friction is going to keep being there until they align with sovereignty. Zero rape, zero slavery. Or die. But even if they, let's say, kill someone, or somebody is dead because they didn't so much as they try to overpower and to exert power, and they self-abandon by doing it so much as they affected somebody's sense of self, and that person died. They will be haunted until they have corrected the ways to zero rape, zero slavery. Their mansions will be haunted. Their real estate will be haunted. Their business will be haunted. And this energy reading, I believe I received towards April, because this April is such an Aries April. Everything is in Aries. Almost the entire April, everything is in Aries. And think everything that goes through Aries is sovereignty o'clock. Women, why do I see all these women? In fitness. You see the shorts, a guy goes to a girl feeling macho, then the girl comes off the exercise, and he sees her upper body is like almost bigger than his. He says, "Good morning, this is Aries." It's Aries o'clock, okay? It is, everything is about the sovereignty, the sense of self. It's like she's not even at the gym. She doesn't care if he think her physique is looking like this or looking like this. She's gonna do her thing. That's Venus. Okay, Moon Aries. Whether we like it or not, we need to do the self-care for ourselves, because Aries itself is where we forge our path by ourselves. Now, this is why I say plan for sovereignty, because people are going to forge the path by themselves or die while forging the path by themselves. And with Neptune, it will be their legacy. It will be their road less taken. There will be even if there are a skeleton in the road, there will be a skeleton in the direction of the path that they forge that is their own. And if something tries to move the skeleton, the wind and the storm will bring it back. That's Neptune in Aries. And the reason is because people understand the meaning, the holistic meaning of something. It's not that they are being fanatic. It's that they understand the mystery behind. And the many people that relied on people being ignorant of the mystery behind, not with Saturn, Neptune in Aries. For example, during the Me Too, I did not understand why did people think, oh, somebody wants money, somebody wants this, somebody wants that. When they say, well, they just don't like being harassed, or they just don't like all these weird things with energy. Because my mindset, if I was think about sexual energy and abundance, I would think about my life energy manifests abundance, not about losing somebody else's life energy to manifest something for me, and then be dependent on the fact that I put them into an existential crisis. They have to. They either die with various diseases, and if I try to keep them dead alive, then what happens to everything that I make is in a dead alive state, is in a quantum state. Is in a Schrodinger's cat position. And in that way, I cannot liquidate that asset. I can ask for more loans, I can build another bubble, but I cannot liquidate that asset. Which is why we had debt-based economy. Which okay, if you think about Robert Maxwell, one of the biggest minds, entire textbooks of children education, and many, many, many more businesses. Epstein affiliated, of course. Why he died living so many debts? That was reliant on that. Now, When the people are put in the existential crisis, it's a do or die. Either they're gonna die or they're gonna heal. Now, if they're gonna heal and somebody's entire wealth, entire reputation, entire sense of self is reliant on them not healing, they're gonna go into what? An existential crisis that is perpetuating the original crisis they had when they were tortured inside these networks. This is why this April, it has such a component of planets. It's not a stellium. It's Ba'aden stellium. It's the size of the A-bomb without actually being an A-bomb. When Israel was bombing Gaza, they would say Israel put the size of an A-bomb type of ammunition, just without it being an actual A-bomb. The same level of destruction. But they say there is sovereignty. Why am I talking about A-bombs and genocide? What would prevent the genocide? What have we learned since October 2023? How is a genocide born? When the people say, well, the Israeli people, yeah, we said the same things about the German Weg, the German way. Not Weg, Weg. And who looted the Nazi scientists that created the propaganda, the occult, the perfected, all the things behind the strategy? A paperclip is an American project. Now, this Aries is going to be like an A-bomb of sovereignty. And it's not, oh, this month far, far away, we're less than a month. It's not over there, it's right here. It's already happening. Venus, Saturn, Neptune, already in Aries, this is considered stellium. Some people say, no, but it's outer planet, but it's just, okay, put sun there, stellium. Mercury, Mars, Moon, except for Jupiter. And so, I said in advance, plan for sovereignty. If your retirement, let alone legacy, is reliant on people being enslaved, stupid, half alive, half dead, that's not the type of skies for that to work without such vehement friction that will hunt all of the endeavors of those that rely on people being enslaved for their so-called sovereignty. I warned. I said for how many? 1 year, 2 years? I said plan for sovereignty, plan for sovereignty. This was going to be about sexual sovereignty. Then I corrected myself because I saw that people, First Nations, they would traffic people and call it sexual sovereignty. And they would require real estate for the trafficking. Okay, the Vogue did not invent this. That's why they got colonized. That's why they got genocided. That's why they lost their cultures, the language, the names, the everything. And but it's still happening. But they like to hear it, they don't like to hear it. This is the truth. The Israelis also try to mythicize these things. What happened? Holocaust. In the Promised Land. Now here's another thing with Uranus at the end of Taurus. There will be some women that knew their partner is an Epstein affiliated. There will be some women that were Ghislaine Maxwell's. But there will be some women, when I was working on case of political assassination, one of the cases, before I found out with the things that I know today, something to do with Epstein, you can imagine. And then I see a video on YouTube. Lady talks about her husband, and she says she was married for 10 years. Then she finds out her beautiful, loving husband, was affiliated with pedophilia. But the name was the exact name. And some women are having that moment. And let me tell you about it. Some of these women are going to be Aries women. I knew, because what is it? The sun exalts in Aries. Now the Aries is reasonable. That's why for some people it's considered naive, but it's just an Aries naivete that makes everything that's not naive 9/11. It's what they understand what happened. They're like, and this is where there can be a wave of divorce. Now some people will say, what, this woman was stupid, or where did she think the money is coming from? But a lot of these women are entrepreneurs themselves. So some women knew they were Ghislaine Maxwell's, some women didn't. Venus in Aries is preparing the ground for that. A woman is trying to get fit. Okay, she needs to eat better. Okay, she needs to remove everything that dysregulates her nervous system. And it can be something as simple as wanting to look good for the wedding. And then she begins to pay attention. So this April is, I know I already made a video about April, but this, so many planets, in Aries is something that is the nightmare of the secret societies. And then whatever will happen, either people will be able to be who they are, which requires real estate, which requires business opportunities that are valid, which requires sense of self, which requires negating certain technologies. The people that develop certain technologies and are now war criminals. And they made houses, they made wealth, they made homes by targeting individuals. The company used to target individuals. Aries is a war sign. The best would be to wealth consolidate in a way that negates violating of sovereignty. Like the best would be for one to bail themselves out now and make sure that if people were enslaved or people were harmed because of them, or if people died because of them, then I'm talking about the people that made money by. Now would be the time to bail themselves out by actually correcting their wrongs. And in a way that sustains. Because even if these people die, their soul, their essence, the missing will haunt the endeavors. And not in a way that can be mythified. Because the times that we are heading are no longer the times that were. Unless you're going to be Constantinople and say Nomos Psychos, but it's only one Constantinople. So, and I don't know how he died, which is another factor. Constantinople. How did Constantine? So I'm already 50-day siege, 53-day siege by the Ottomans. An open gate was discovered and the defense broke following the wounding of their commander. Okay, but how did he die? I don't know. Mysterious illness. He was baptized into Christianity on his deathbed by Eusebius, bishop of Nicomedia. Are we talking about the same? No, it's not the same. Is it? No, this is the second. There's the first and second. There's Constantine. Constantinople is the city, no? I think that this is. No, this is not. It's getting freakier. Constantinople. Oh, finally. They will never let us know. Discarded his imperial regalia, making his exact death undocumented. It says his head was severed and displayed as victory symbol. This is Al Goldes. It's better per se this. Literally, he died and his head was the talisman. Others suggest he was buried in a silver case. But this is from the Ottomans because they were the ones that, I don't know if they beheaded him or what happened. His body was never identified definitively. Let's just say, could have more peaceful death. And that began the funny name of Islamic Golden Age. Um, Now, why am I saying all of this? Because it is exactly that aspiration to total control that is causing the friction that would otherwise never have been. The energy reading I'm receiving could be, let's say, person left person or said goodbye 5, 6, 7 years ago. But that person was hunted because they didn't want that person to be having even sense of self outside of their circles. Now, when it happens to more and more people, and in Saturn, Neptune, it happens globally, all the gaslightings don't work. Because it is obvious that was a secret society behind the harming of this person. And it's obvious that, let's say, the person who left the situation was hunted because they said no to, let's say, an Epstein ring. Remember when I said this is the time where they try to fool all the people all the time? And here is the thing, Aries is sovereignty o'clock. Nobody is seeking a power struggle. Aries is not seeking a power struggle. But hey, at least don't get in the way of people to being who they are. The basic needs, housing, real estate, participation in business in a way that is maintaining the sovereignty. And with Aries is no longer an opinion. When people are well housed, when they have good economy and so on and so forth, people can say, in my opinion, in your opinion, tolerance. But not with this, so many planets in Aries, meaning that so many things are left to having to innovate, having to forge a path through. The sun exalts in Aries, but one cannot be trafficker, looter, and have a happy, healthy, confident, radiant sun that is not narcissistic, overinflated, egoically fractured. And Aries wants more than that. It is not here to be in those. It cannot be dominating over anything that's not itself. Now, for Aries, it has no problem with that. Who has a problem with that runs into an existential friction. Now, here's the thing. Aries here is not coming to the situation of be dominated or dominated. They're not looking for that. They say, okay, all the world goes extinct, boom. And it's the rational thing to do, because being dominated or dominate is not fit for Aries. Because the sense of self is neither in being dominated nor in dominating. Both are realities of trauma. And Aries wants, as much as it's survivalistic, it also wants to thrive. It cannot be, if Aries is reduced, here is things that if one does, they get the worst out of a sign. Aries being reduced to survival. If Aries being reduced to survival, they will manifest the end of the world. We did not come here to survive, we came here to thrive. For example, Hitler's Mercury. Hitler was reduced to survival. He wrote what? Mein Kampf, eternal fight. Total expansion, eternal fight, all the time at war. Destroying of the. He took it to megalithic, destructive. Shouldn't have made Hitler homeless. He was a painter. What did they want from him? Wasn't called for the war with Prussia. We could say, okay, less PTSD, but and the destruction his regime left. Because each and every country had to deal with the fact that they were enabling the Nazis. If people make the analogy to Israel, they say, oh, did you say Israel is Nazi? I said, I don't need to say that, even if you say that. Then where is your country in that equation? Can Israeli woman that doesn't want to operate with Epstein ring find asylum in your country? But also those realities of rape and slavery cannot be swept under the rug. Now let's face it, so many planets in Aries here, but the Aries archetype is triggered with all of its aspects. And I believe that this April we're going to get to know Aries in a different way now. Because Neptune is in Aries, it has a different tone in the coming 15 years than it would have, let's say, without Neptune. For example, without Neptune, all of this could still be one transit. One April, one really weird April. It could be a 29 April. It could be the beginning of the World War April. But with Neptune, there's something very global and intergenerational about these Aprils. Now, if it looks like the Aries placement is like, why don't they let go? Why they won't let go? Aries is not Scorpio. It's not a fixed sign. It's a cardinal sign. Well, it's because sovereignty. Somebody's violated Aries sovereignty. Now, here's the thing with Aries is very simple. They have to undo all the wrongs that they did in their entirety. Not from a scorpionic, deep, thorough, karmic place, no. It's kind of like, hey, the sense of self needs to be there. All the things that align with the life energy needs to be there. Every bubble that was built upon the sense of self not being there with all that entails. 9/11. On a global scale. And people that resist that reality, that try to hold on to power, to hold on to control, to hold on, to hold on, to hold on. They are going to have the most friction, the most challenge with this Aries. And here's the thing, with Neptune, I don't know how they will deal with this challenge. But whatever they will do has the potential to end an outdue cycle of where they were relying over a bubble, or alternatively, get themselves enmeshed with Saturn-Neptune level of implications. And this is where the people say lineages. I think on the chart of United States, they say every such and such president is cursed for because of the structure. This number of presidents, it's that level. It's that level. Those that still violate sovereignty in April, those who violate sovereignty in April get themselves into Saturn-Neptune level of implications. Their entire legacy, their entire lineage, they all will be cursed until people have to abandon completely from the foundation of the entire intergenerational thing. And that can even be bloodlines, across lineages, across diasporas. Let's say, I think for Jews it's going to be a little bit difficult time. Why? Because Saturn rules debt and usury, and Aries rules sovereignty. So what would be best for Jews to do? Debt relief, zero usury, but most of all, zero rape, zero slavery. You can have usury, but only if you cannot enslave a person. But if Jews don't do that, what happens to the Jews when the Jews don't practice zero rape, zero slavery? We all know. Anti-Semitism, assimilation of women, mothers need to be, bullshit. Nothing. Didn't save my grandfather's entire family. And rightfully so. Why would they be living in rape, slavery, trafficking, looting, child marriages, Holocaust within the marriage in the promised land and sustain? It's like if somebody's doing something wrong, why would that sustain? Because those things that happen in the concentration camps, they were happening at homes. They were happening to children. They were happening in ritual abuse. But if I think about the fact that the Islamic Golden Age brought the credit system and the debt system and the banking system to the foundations of what would modernly be basically inspired by Islamic Golden Age, then we can understand that also for Islam it's going to be challenging times. With Neptune it can be because of faraway lands or First Nations to Islam. Before Islam, the First Nations, they might revolt. Okay, Neptune, Saturn here is a global, it's not a local, it's not a one religion, it's not one area. Just as we see the First Nations rise in the West. Africans look into their pre-Islamic, pre-Christianic traditions.